Hey everybody, this is Publishing Disrupted, and I'm editor Mick Silva.
And I'm publisher and literary agent of great acclaim. Because that's what you're supposed to say,
Okay.
David Morris.
I could say that.
Everything is supposed to be puffed up in publishing.
I need to set you up better. Yes, literary agent extraordinaire, David Morris.
There you go. Thank you. Yes.
Publishing Disrupted is exploring ways in which the book publishing world is changing and how writers can best meet that challenge. So we are here to discuss what's new in our lives and what's going on. And we're two former Christian publishing industry professionals learning to navigate the massive independent book market. And that's just a little bit about us. But we realized recently you don't know a whole lot more about us because we haven't really been forthcoming about. I mean, we said, what we didn't in past lives.
I don't think we've been hiding anything.
No,
except for
not.
maybe things that could get us into trouble.
I do feel a little bit clandestine most days.
Yeah.
It's because I come out of, a place where you have to be very careful about what you say, and you're representing a publishing house, and I tend to be a little squirrely, and I can just say stuff sometimes, and then I get into trouble. So I do still feel a little bit of that inhibition, but then just the natural introversion. That inhibits us all. So
I parked in front of a bookstore. This morning
Is
on
it
the way into
Plumfield over there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel clandestine when it comes to going in a place like that. Like that's on the other. I feel what you're feeling, but also on the other end of the spectrum, you go into like a broad market, general reader focused bookstore, which most of them are.
Yep.
And you're like, well, I do religious books. And
I'm one of those.
Yeah. I mean, in the world we're in, there's like towers and great esteemed places that no one else in the world cares about one bit.
Regular people?
That's the thing. I just like, where's the balance in all
regular
this?
Non-readers?
Or just regular readers.
Well, sure.
They're just there for like fantasy fiction.
Genre readers.
They don't want to read Joel Osteen.
Yeah.
Maybe they do, actually, because what's the difference?
Yeah, what's the next 50 Shades Grey or whatever? Well, true, yeah. Okay, we're already getting squirrely here.
Yeah, good. And disruptive.
But so in terms of just like the big picture of what we're talking about, the recent changes that have disrupted book publishing, I do see a lot of crossover. And anecdotally, I mean, certainly parking in front of Plumfield and going in as like, a publisher and trying not to be noticed. Like I think there are a lot of ways in which these worlds are sort of merging and blending and almost becoming indistinguishable from each other, and not just in terms of markets, but in terms of book genres. That's another thing I think we could probably spend a whole episode talking about. It's like crossover genres. There's always been talk when I was in Christian publishing about crossing over into general market, right? And does that really happen? And sure, sometimes it does, and it's mostly an accident. But
and what does that even mean?
Right. What does that even mean?
Yeah.
And anymore, of course. I mean, if you're just buying the book online, I mean, you don't know necessarily whether it's a Christian publisher or not. Right. Which I guess is good and bad, depending on what kind of reader you are. So anyway, but yeah, I think when we're talking, especially like last time we talked a little bit about like the progressive Christian struggles, books that tend to fall between categories. And like, where do you put them? How does that then translate into, ideally better sales or just better recognition in general for our books? And we're, of course, concerned mostly with the progressive Christian market. And yet, if you only have to have a certain number, we talked about the article, 1,000 true fans. Which was
in our last podcast.
Our last podcast, check it out.
Check out. Yep.
1,000 true fans. The idea that the mainstream is no longer relevant, that you just have to find 1,000, unique followers, and you can make a way for yourself. Basically, create your own tribe. And I love the idea of that. Of course, that's the independent spirit that we're trying to capture here. And then, of course, that dovetails into talking about progressive stuff, topics and markets and ideas. But recently I was reading that article. I guess Maureen Dowd in the New York Times was talking about how men need to be convinced to read, or like this is kind of a trope that I was familiar with, and I'm sure you heard it too.
Mm-hmm.
Men don't read, and so you kind of have to convince them, or you have to make them, it feels like it's helping them in their career in some way, or it's giving them, something that helps them feel superior to others. I mean, there's just all kinds of ways that we have to use reading as sort of a way to help people progress maybe in their careers or their sense of self. And yet I don't know that, I don't really know if you agreed with the article or not, but men read, obviously. We're men, we read. A lot of people that I know are men who read, so I don't really know if that's true.
There's different kinds, but perhaps men skew more toward reading for a sense of purpose.
Sure.
Whether it's like business books and leadership books, those are really big in the Christian market.
Right, productivity. I mean, podcasts and things lend themselves to that. Yeah. We don't really think in those terms. I don't know. I mean, just you and me personally. I think productivity can be
right. I don't read productivity
great,
books.
but
I did
I'm just
at
not.
one point, but yeah.
Or like how to build your business. I mean, I suppose if you're looking for that, there's plenty of stuff available online. I'm not sure I'd get it from a book. I don't know. Maybe investment advice, I guess, but financial stuff maybe.
Yeah.
But see, we're not even. That's not the kind of stuff that I want to publish or read necessarily. Right. I'm much more into fiction and stories and memoirs and relational dynamics and things like this. History, I love. Right. I know you're reading some of that recently. I kind of just wanted to ask what you're reading.
Yeah. So what are we as two? Let's do
as two guys. What are we reading?
A self ethnographic study.
Yeah. There you
what
go.
We're reading. Yeah.
That makes it sound way more important.
Ooh,
that's good.
Yeah. I mean, I read a lot for work, for one thing.
Yeah.
Just whether it's like fragments of chapters in book proposals or whole manuscripts that I'm helping to edit, or I'm actually outright doing a developmental edit on.
Yeah.
And that keeps my brain pretty busy. But I also read for myself, and I tend to do perhaps two kinds of reading. One would be reading in the scholarly area that I grew up in, books about psychology and religion, about understanding religion from a social scientific point of view, a psychological, sociological, even historical point of view, just continues to fascinate me. I just got into a really great stream of intellectual history where we're talking about how does religion fit into society. It's not confessional from within religion. It's more looking at religion from the outside, which is very strange to some people. They don't understand why you would even do that. But it's just a beautiful discipline. Yeah. So I still am reading. I'm kind of rereading some things even from graduate school from like 20 years ago.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Where I feel like I've kind of lost touch with them, and I wanted to get back into it and seeing things from that perspective. I was actually reading a very well-known historian of American religion just this week. I was dipping back into a book of his that I had gotten probably 20 years ago.
Right.
It was from early 2000s, and it was really interesting to hear. It was sort of I would say it was like a hagiography of evangelicalism, Protestant evangelicalism.
Yeah.
I don't think this author would say that that's what that is, but looking back.
Maybe looking back,
but it was sort of like, where's evangelicalism going?
Yeah.
And Protestantism will be, where is its next step in American life? And it's like, okay, you totally did not anticipate what happened in 2016.
How could you?
And or the deconstruction movement or anything. Completely whiffed on that.
Huh.
And that was just fun for me to kind of see that, more critically, and going, it was talking about how, a lot of people complain about mega churches. I'm sorry, I'm kind of going off on a tangent. They complain about mega churches as being sort of like entertainment focused.
Right.
And that was sort of the complaint then. And I was thinking, that just feels like a very surface level analysis from this PhD of history.
Yeah.
And not really getting into the long history of sort of the blurring of the line between popular culture and popular technology methods of communicating about faith and religion and spirituality that have been used by evangelicals since the beginning of time in the United States. It's always been very connected to emotions and entertainment.
And emotionalism and if you think about the
Yeah.
Billy Graham Crusades, I mean, there was just a lot of whipping people up.
So it was that's just kind of gets into my head and what's fun for me to read and what I kind of get engaged by. The other kind of reading I do lately is probably historical reading, if not outright just fiction of whatever anybody else might be reading.
Right.
Like if my daughter or my wife are reading a great novel, I'll get into it too. 'Cause
Sure.
It's fun to talk about them together.
Yeah. What are some of those that you've read recently? Or
I read Station 11.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that?
I did. Yeah.
From a while
we
back.
watched the show too. It's pretty good.
Okay, we just started watching the show now that I'm the third person to finally read the book.
Yeah, it was good. I think they did a good adaptation.
And then we've been getting into like Michigan history a little bit, and I'm reading a book that my daughter got me at Christmas called Ghost Ships of the Great Lakes.
Okay, yes.
And it's fun. It's a little boring. It'll put you right to sleep, but it's great.
No, come on.
I'm not thinking.
Not boring.
And then I've really been into. I might have mentioned this. I've been into Austrian history.
Yes.
For a number of reasons, which I won't go into now. But I've been reading a book about Francis Joseph, pretty much the last well-known Austrian emperor who lived from the mid 1800s through just after World War I, or just before it ended. Yeah, he died I think in 1916 or something.
Okay.
But that's fun. It's just fun to get. I was even thinking recently that that kind of reading sometimes is more spiritual than the megachurch pastor's book. That's talking about God.
I love that.
Sort of like digging deep into like Habakkuk or something like that. But this is actually connecting me to a sense of history, to a sense of the continuum of the human condition. I had no idea how much jostling went on, especially during the 1800s, between monarchies and nation states struggling to become democratic, parliamentary run countries. It just tells you a lot. In America, it's kind of like, well, we fought the British and we became a democracy overnight. And there's much more to that continuum when you read in history, and I find that spiritual because it connects me to.
For sure.
It just makes me feel more grounded. It helps me understand the human condition better, how we're evolving as a global society. I don't know what it is, but it's something that having insight and understanding feels spiritual. It helps me be more sensitive to the world, understand the world around me better. Whereas I was kind of brought up, we'll just read the Bible all day long, and that's what will help you, get better connected to God. And that's just artificial quite often.
You're trying to come out of yourself. I was just having this conversation with sort of a family kerfuffle that we're having about, relational dynamics and differences in opinion about how faith orients us in the world. And, you just need to read your Bible more and go to church more. And
speaking of reading, what we're all reading.
Like you're gonna say that the Bible isn't right about this. Well, it's not the Bible. It's more your interpretation of it that's the problem. And that if we will just get with the program and change ourselves, allow ourselves to be changed, I suppose, then everything will be hunky dory.
Right.
And this is what church people are always saying. Our whole lives, people telling us this, right? And yet, when you're talking about other books and getting into the I guess, empathizing with a character or understanding what even an author is trying to put forth as a historical record and understanding what the people were living through at that time, you're coming out of yourself, right? You're basically sacrificing your own point of view, I suppose, in a manner of speaking, in order to take on someone else's. And that's just there's something spiritual about that. There's something that is very much in line with what I think you're hearing from church pulpits and in a lot of these Christian books that are talking about like that's such a spiritual thing and it's so hard to do and you have to give your heart to Jesus and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, maybe you just read a book.
Right.
Maybe just do that.
Crack a book. That's
like try
not
that.
The Bible.
And in fact, like if you're just looking at the Bible, maybe that's a detriment to you because you're not like relating to a lot of other types of people. who are alive now.
Yeah. I had the urge to post on Threads yesterday, the social media platform, about how much I missed the Jesus seminar. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
From the 80s and 90s?
Right,
where a collection of scholars who voted on how much the words in the Bible, in the New Testament, the gospel stories in particular, were actually things that Jesus said, I believe, and did. And they came out, they voted down to like maybe 10% of what you read there is probably the actual words of Jesus. And the rest are by the writers.
Yes.
And so if you're spending all your time thinking you're reading Jesus's words, you're really reading about the writers. Well, you know what you ought to do? Go read some biblical history.
Yeah,
books.
exactly.
That's what you
right. Or,
you really
or like
want to understand the Bible.
Jewish heritage and Eastern mysticism and all the things that did come out of like the Jesus way. It's just not in the interpretation of the American Christian set. Yeah. There's many ways to come at this, and I guess go ahead.
So what are you reading?
Oh, I was going to say, I guess what I enjoy the most, I guess, about reading fiction, and that's my primary love, is just that you do have to sort of. There's almost this 50-page experiment that I take in most of these like literary novels that I'm reading, and to just name a few, like Tomorrow was like this. A couple others I was reading. Well, Station 11, I think, was kind of like this. It's a shift in the way you're thinking in a way. I don't really know how to explain that, but
that book definitely
takes a while,
shift.
right? To get into the voice, the characters. I mean, even if they're not jumping around a whole lot in the beginning in terms of timeline or even character, if you're sticking with one character's voice, sometimes it's a little bit of a, I mean, there's some work to be done independently as a reader in order to get with the voice that's being put forth. And I think I like that process. A lot of people, I think, just check out and go watch TV because it's easier. But I enjoy like having to give up the way that I'm thinking in order to think like someone else.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put that in another way, but it's a fun practice.
Yeah.
And in that process, I find that there's like, there's all kinds of things that I hadn't thought about before. And now I'm available to other thoughts or other just ways of thinking, I guess. And this can get really meta really quickly, but just to bring it down to practical level, I enjoy reading because it takes me out of myself. And in a way, I feel like that is largely what the Jesus message is asking us to do, to identify with the other people out there that you don't know anything about. And you might think of them as beneath you or above you or just different from you, and so they're weird, and so you never reach out. But like in fiction, I'm kind of doing the opposite of that. It's like intentionally coming into contact with a life that I have no knowledge about before. And now I'm learning about it, not just from the outside, but from the inside, from behind that character's eyes. And I don't know, I mean, you can do that to some extent through the visual mediums of documentaries and, great series on Netflix. I mean, that are amazing. They're really great, but they're not like a book. They're not like a memoir. That's different in some special way. I'm trying to put that to words, I guess. Erringly.
No, that was beautiful. I don't have much to say or comment on that. To read is to get us out of ourselves.
Yeah.
Some of us really want to escape ourselves. That's why we read.
Sure.
But
There are times
we need to. Some of us really need to.
There are times. I'm like, I'm sick of myself. I want to be someone else right now. Yeah.
The same reality all day long.
Right. And I guess novels are just an easy way for me to think, oh, well, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe rather than drinking or doing something else I shouldn't be doing. But yeah, so Susan Sontag says about novels that they enlarge your sympathies. And I really love that idea. And I know that's not a new thought, but I'm remembering Kafka quote that novels are like an axe to the frozen seas inside us. And it's a way to kind of like get at these things that you would maybe rather not think about. Some of the realities that people live with all the time. And it's not just literary fiction that does that. Obviously, in genre novels are doing that too. To some extent, I think every story that's out there that's not your own, is an opportunity to converse with someone else's life.
So when do you read? Like what time of day do you read?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of it's before bed, honestly. Drive times, I have audiobooks. And I'd say that the balance for me, and you might be different, but I think audiobook is probably like 25 to 30% of the total.
Yeah.
And, obviously on planes and, if I'm traveling or something, I get more audio time in. But I generally will take hardcover novels. I'm one of those that goes ahead and packs the heavy books.
Do you listen to audio through or is it library versus buy? Let's start with audiobook.
I mean, audio, I will always look at the library and see if there's a copy available, and often with new stuff, there's not. So
I
subscribe
to
either audiobook.com or, I go on I don't know what I'm using these days. I had been using like Audible, but I don't want to support Amazon anymore. So I was using something else. I can't remember the service. Well, but there's Hoopla. Hoopla's a great app too, and if you just check on there for the library copy, usually you can find something.
Right.
But what about you?
I have done audio. I've gone through phases with audiobooks where they kick in for me, but I'm not really driving a lot these days, as you are too. Not as much working at home. So I think I'm probably mostly print.
Okay.
Of whatever stripe, and then maybe a little bit of ebook. Like I'm reading an ebook right now that I got from the library.
Yeah.
Because you can get too many books in your house, and you're like, why did I? You ever buy a book and then like, man, I bought that 5 years ago and I never read it.
Oh yeah.
Like, okay, that's not good.
Yeah, no, we have accounts at all the used bookstores.
Can't be good, but
they just give them back. Yeah, we have credit at all the used bookstores. But yeah, if I'm driving, I'm listening more. But if I'm needing to just escape, because we read so much already on the screen, I'm not doing a lot of ebooks.
Right.
I generally want like the physical pages.
Right. And that's true for me at night, especially. If I'm reading, which is frustrating because the history that I'm reading right now is an ebook, and I don't want to have a screen on my eyes right before bed.
Do you use a Kindle? Do you use your iPad or
Kindle? Yeah, but I'm actually in the Hoopla app for this particular ebook.
Yeah, I think the Kindle. What is that, like Paperwhite? It's nice that it doesn't feel like a screen. I do enjoy that more.
I use a tablet, so
right.
I don't know if I can justify
like
getting yet another device.
I know.
There's probably a lot of used Kindle readers out there that I could get pretty cheaply.
I think you have to get one that's fairly recent because they stop updating them. But we had a Fire for a while. I don't use it, but but then I guess to ebooks, I'm probably like 5 to 10%, and I tend toward more practical stuff on ebooks, and I'll do like novels and memoirs in hard copy. I don't know why that is. It just feels more real, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm Gen X. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But I think if it was a classic, like Frankenstein, I listened to last summer with Charlotte because my 18-year-old, now 19, was wanting to read some of the classics, and we kind of read it together, which was amazing. Yeah, it was one of my favorite reads.
Really?
Of recent, just because getting back into the language of that time was part of the pleasure. And every time I turn on that audio and I hear the voice, it was totally an escape. I mean, I'd be cleaning the pool, or I'd be like mowing the lawn, and I'd like be somewhere else.
It's not just the story
amazing.
That gets you out of yourself, but it's the language itself.
The way
too.
in which it's written. Yeah, because it's older.
Right.
I noticed that like with C.S. Lewis or Tolkien, or people who do have something of an arcane way of speaking.
Compared to today.
Sure.
Arcane,
yeah, and it can be obtuse. I mean, it's difficult sometimes. You have to like weed through sometimes and even keep a dictionary nearby.
And sometimes you find things in there like, oh, I wouldn't say that today.
No, right.
Even from someone like maybe a C.S. Lewis.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that seems a little dated, but weeding through and then like giving grace to people who lived before. I don't know that I would have been any better if I didn't know any better. But like to just get with the type of human that was previously is just such a mental exercise that I love.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like getting like getting back into English class. I just really loved my time just exploring different texts and literary interpretation, I guess.
Right.
Right? Writing essays about the differences between two types of writers and kind of compare and contrast. We just don't have, I don't know that I have the capacity. I don't have the time for that so much anymore. So when I'm doing, reading a classic or something, it's a way for me to sort of do that compare and contrast with myself now and that character then.
Yeah.
There's this difference in history and way of seeing the world. I think it's really instructive.
Yeah. Do you think, onto the sort of a different way of talking about this, do you think you're spending more time reading now or less time or about the same?
Yeah, I mean, overall more, just because of work and things I'm reading in order to understand. Like, I'm working with a memoirist right now, and she recommended these other 2 books that were kind of influential, so I'm reading those just to get with what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's nice. That's really good background research on part of you.
I'm interested
professional.
in it. Yeah. I'm interested in it, and I love memoirs, and I think in order to love them, you kind of have to understand, like, there's just different ways to do it. There's different ways to write one. And someone was asking me, what's a memoir as opposed to an autobiography or something recently, and the quick answer is a memoir has a theme. It's just a particular time, and you're talking about a topic basically within your life rather than telling your life story.
Or an episode, or a snapshot. Or
this is how I overcame anxiety, or whatever.
Or just one relationship in your life.
Exactly.
Not your whole autobiography.
Or the Texas years.
Yeah.
Or exactly.
Yeah.
Like my trip to Ireland.
There's overlap.
Whatever.
People use interchangeably those words.
Oh, sure.
Autobiography and memoir.
Well, and obviously, like memoir, there's a lot of flashback and interrelationships that you're bringing into to have weight on the story.
Sometimes in memoir, there's a little fiction thrown in.
Often a lot of fiction, more than you'd like to admit. Yeah.
Memoirs,
and I mean,
memories, storytelling. It's not.
What is exactly?
Facts.
Every time you pull up a memory, it changes apparently, according to science.
Right.
So, what is a memoir ultimately is just the story we're telling ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think there's a good exercise to that. There's obviously some drawbacks if you're going to take that as gospel truth, quote unquote.
Yeah. But outside of work, are you reading more or less?
Probably these days more.
Really?
More than I was any time I was employed in book publishing.
Because you don't have the full-time corporate job.
Right.
You've got a little bit more flexibility with how you spend your time.
Everything is competitive titles when you're an acquisitions editor. Everything is reading what they're publishing.
I once worked at a publisher, and I had a coworker who would go to like the conference room for his lunch break, and he'd be reading like a novel. Yeah. Completely unrelated.
Oh yeah. No, that's for mental health.
How do you do that?
That's right.
Like, you're probably the healthier person here.
That's right. That is for mental health. I would do the same. I'd just take it to my car. Yeah. I think what's so difficult is about being a book person, you start to see this as a business, and then it becomes less fun.
Yeah.
It's less of a personal pursuit and more of like this professional thing.
Definitely. But sometimes I will have nights. I had one just a couple of nights ago where it's like, I can't bear to read anything right now.
Totally. Me too. Yeah. I'm just full up.
Even the stuff I want to read, I can't read anything.
Like, it's not going to get retained anyway. So you may as well just, do something else.
Yeah. So I have word finds. I bought one of those
I have that too.
where you can buy like a pack for like $10. You get like 12 cheaply.
Are they like crosswords, or are they just like
just straight up word finds, which are some of the most mindless
I know.
Take very little actual thinking.
Yeah. I have one of those on my phone that's like a mental break for me. Like, it's just a word find.
Yeah.
And I think in some ways, like, that feels more relaxing than even genre reading sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I'll read just like YA novels once in a while because it feels a little lighter.
Yeah.
But I'll do the word find.
I just watch Scooby-Doo. I don't read YA novels. I just find Scooby-Doo somewhere.
I miss Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of stuff that I was realizing I need to do just for my own personal mental health. And like to come back to our topic, like as men, like I think sometimes there's not enough outlets for just being a regular human being. And mowing the lawn's fine because it's physical and it's not behind a computer screen, but it's still not fun. So I need to actually look for something that's enjoyable as well. or like being on my phone and doing a word find. That's a good brain break, but it's still not connecting with people and, refilling my battery, basically.
Right.
So I need to have good conversations like this. This is very helpful to me.
Yeah.
Just to be able to like shoot the shit with somebody,
Yep.
Yep.
Same. I hope someone's listening, or maybe I hope they're not listening, because that's all we're doing.
That's all we do. No, it's good because I think particularly as men, when you're talking about reading as a pursuit or as something that, do you use it as escape is the question that I like to ask people.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's almost an embarrassment factor. And I feel that as a man, right? Use it to escape. Well, that feels like, what are you like?
Because men need to be going out and hunting and killing animals, and so reading has to be for a purpose.
Do you need counseling? Like what's wrong with? Why are you just reading?
Right.
Well, no, I'm probably fairly on the far end of the introvert spectrum, so I do enjoy reading. But like, I don't enjoy going out and killing things. I enjoy like thinking about other people's lives and what I can learn from them.
Right.
Or times in history, like you're talking about, or even just topics that I knew nothing about
before. The way it can fire the imagination.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yes, that is an escape to me, but it's an intellectual pursuit as well, I guess.
Right. Right.
And I don't know if that's better or worse, but that's the way I like to live.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the article's title, I said something. What was the article's title?
Yeah. Attention men, reading is sexy.
Yes, see? You're a very sexy man.
Books are sexy. Oh, but staring into a phone is not. That was the
staring into a phone is not.
Extra part of that title.
I do need to remember that one.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to put the phone down when my wife walks in the room.
Oh my gosh. My wife is so on me about it too. I'm like, you know what? I'm actually responding to a friend right now. I'm not doing some stupid game, I promise.
Oh, okay.
I'm
not going to get into this too heavily, but
she is
I think
on me
she's
about
sending you a message.
Yeah. She's like, everybody in the house needs to put their phone down right now. She's not wrong.
Yeah.
I don't argue too hard.
Yeah. Yeah, well, social media arguably has replaced a lot of the reading.
Yeah.
I did do a little bit, before this podcast, did a little bit of online searching. I don't want to comment on it like I'm an expert or I have real facts and data to share. But I do think I didn't used to think, from inside publishing, we tend to puff ourselves up. I said that earlier.
Yeah.
We tend to overstate our case about how books that we're buying. The world is buying, the U.S. is buying as many books as it used to. It's reading as much as it used to. Things like, well, we're reading social media, we're reading the captions in social media, so we're reading as much as we used to. Well, is that immersive reading?
Right.
Is it is it getting you out of yourself? Yeah, some of it is.
Sort of.
Yeah. I think that people are reading books a little bit less than they were 20 years ago, 25 years ago, before the digital era really kicked in.
I think so.
I did see one statistic of people are spending like 2 hours on social media a day, a day, which
my gosh.
I like, that's not me, even though I actually work on social media.
Or it's probably even less than some people. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's scary.
Which is extraordinary.
Right.
I do think that we do this podcast very much so for aspiring authors, current authors, publishing colleagues, but I do think that it's not said enough, and we need to learn how to say it more, that some of these digital platforms are ways to be a writer, and that is just as valid. I said this to a publishing colleague the other day, and I said, I'm going to say this on the podcast, so here we go. Being a book author does not make you a writer.
Yeah.
Being a writer makes you a writer.
That's right. Yeah.
And so it's where's the medium that you need to find for that writing.
Well, and increasingly people are doing a Substack, right? I mean, that's like the new blogging. So
yeah, it is.
Building your email list or newsletter list, I guess, through Substack is kind of expected now.
Right. And there's I think there's also a lot of online media outlets. They don't pay necessarily.
Sure. Right.
So that's part of the challenge.
Yep.
The world has changed. It's not. It talked about some of the research I saw talked about how people used to sort of split their time between watching network television, not streaming, but network television, and reading the newspaper and books.
Yes. To stay informed.
And I think those systems, as they were set up in the past, were monetized a little easier if you could get into it. If you could get into being a reporter or a journalist or opinion writer for a news outlet,
Yep.
Or a major magazine or something like that. If you could get into book publishing, which was arguably harder in the past than it is now, or if you could get into television and film, which was arguably harder back then as well. I mean, if you think of all the programming that goes on now,
Right.
It's
There
probably
weren't as many,
it's probably easier, but it pays less, which I think is probably the true
that's probably true.
across the board. So I think as book publishing people, that's what we struggle with sometimes. Or as authors, is the infrastructure there like you may think it used to be?
Right.
But it's constantly been evolving. You don't see mass market paperbacks like you used to,
Right.
for example.
Right.
Really inexpensive, small size books with the prints really
Almost
tiny.
never. Yeah.
Yeah. That changed a while back, actually. So where are we now with these mediums, and how do we as writers and publishers find a way to have it be a place of creativity, also one that you get rewarded for financially, hopefully?
Right. It's a good question. And we've talked about it before, making your marketing into an extension of your, obviously your platform, but an extension of your writing, right? And saying, okay, it's not just that you're putting your great ideas into your book. You're actually like putting them into the Substack and into your socials and like sharing things that way, so that there's like quality engagement.
Right.
And then that's how you build an audience and a following.
And even like all the Substack posts, for example, and this applies to even social media, you can specialize in ways that maybe you didn't used to before. I'm amazed at some people, like when people subscribe to my Substack, I'm amazed when it tells you how many other Substacks they're subscribing to.
Right.
Some of them are like well over 100.
I know.
Or
I can't be
hundreds.
reading all that.
And I know they're not reading all that.
Sure.
There's something about it's more like social networking for them
Okay.
than it is.
Yeah.
But I do think that there's some folks, like, you're reading a certain Substack because you're getting your political news that way.
Sure.
Because you're tired of what the New York Times is doing. You're fed up with some of the articles that they've done.
Yep.
You might still go there, but not like as much as you used to. And you've got this one commentator who always is talking about this one topic and keeping you informed on it, which might be of big interest for you.
Yeah.
So I think that's actually pretty powerful.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty powerful. If you can find that, if you can be that writer who can write about that one thing really, really well.
Yes.
There might be a dozen or 2 dozen or maybe 50 dozen other people who are doing it as well, but maybe that's not a bad calculation, actually, if you're looking for just your 1,000 true fans.
Absolutely.
If you could be that one writer really being good at that, do a Substack blog and a Substack post, e-newsletter. It is like blogging of old, though. I do worry about it sometimes because it's sort of like, well, how many of these blogs can people read?
Right. I know.
Why would you keep up with all these people?
Way back when,
But I do think that there's something there where we can get like more grassroots information.
Yeah.
That's what I look to for social media, because I feel like the New York Times reports about what it reports about.
Yeah.
But you don't see the videos of masked police officer abducting people from public spaces.
Yeah.
And I don't know why the New York Times doesn't report on that more. That's interesting to me.
Right.
And so I'll tune in for that. Not that I can handle seeing that all day long.
No, but you need to know
I
that's
just
happening.
can't believe it. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's just extreme behavior going on in our society.
Exactly.
I won't put words to it. Other people are doing a really good job of that, but but yet mainstream media won't necessarily.
You are not going to see
conservative or progressive won't necessarily report about it.
Yeah, and that is interesting. There's, again, the mainstream is dead. Long live the unique tribes.
Right.
And I do think the unique tribes are bringing something substantive to the table that just isn't available otherwise.
Right.
So if you are one of those sort of independent-minded people, you're listening, hopefully, to this podcast and learning that there is a place for you. that you can put your voice forth, drill down into your special niche and find an audience. And that's
right.
That's being proven over and over again. And eventually, I do think there's still this, like, I don't know what the force would be called, but like the force that brings the cream to the top, or like allows the people with the most balanced voices or the most extreme voices, either way, to rise to the top. And then that usually points to, well, what else do you have? You know, what else do you have that's available? That's, you know, maybe you just like collected a bunch of your Substacks together and published them in a book or something. But then that gets attention, and then, you know, you eventually find a publisher, and it gets bigger and bigger that way. And then you become a brand unto yourself. I mean, ideally, this is what we're talking about. You know, you grow just organically and naturally that way. I don't think that was available before. You would have had to be, you know, well, at least educated. And I still hope that most people are getting, you know, some sort of basic liberal education. But the humanities are going away. You know, in a lot of institutions, they're not being supported in the way that they used to. So where are they getting their information? And increasingly, my kids are on like Tumblr and getting their information from their friends or from people that they follow, or YouTube videos and stuff like this, like the things that you missed in class. And they're actually substantive. They're right.
Right.
Talking about classics and you know, reading some of the masters and these things that, you know, I even missed in my liberal education.
Right.
So those people who are the voices, I think, can come along and hopefully build an audience and get noticed that way.
So you need to tell your wife, like, I'm looking at Tumblr.
Most of the time, that's true.
I learned from my daughters some important information,
but
and now I'm reading Tumblr.
But maybe I don't need to be on there all the time.
And that's sexy.
Isn't that sexy? Yeah, no. If it was a book, she'd be fine. It's true. So maybe it's as simple as that. Maureen Dowd is right. I just need to read more books.
I find too that, like, with books these days, there's so much political stuff, and I just wish there was more. I mean, there's been so much news in the last 10 years. Right. So much change, and I need somebody to help me make sense of it. I don't want another explanation about where Christian nationalism comes from. I kind of know.
I'm just kind of clear now.
And they're usually not. They're not always the most expansive analysis. Yep. It tends to do some very helpful reporting about what's going on and what's happening. And it's like, oh, I had no idea. That's horrible.
Sure.
But on the other hand, I need to find the meaning in it. And where do I point my head other than just go picket somewhere, which is fine too.
Sure.
But I need to find hope. Yeah. And that's what I'm struggling with. Yeah. Is, you know, and there's hope in social action without a doubt. That's not what I'm saying. I feel like I need somebody to help me make better sense of it. Right. And that will spur, I think, even more action in that regard. Yeah.
And you're finding that where? I mean, is there a book or a source that you find some hope when you're feeling that way, or is that a thing you're trying to escape sort of the reality of the world, or
I don't know.
Put words to it.
I don't find I'm attracted to any one book that's helping us make sense of our time right now. Yeah. Okay. Whether it's a spiritual, religious book or a political book, which I'm less connected to that kind of stuff. Anyway. Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm not the authority on those kinds of things. Yeah. Especially, I mean, we've talked about this in regard to spiritual writing. I don't feel like there's anybody who's really impressing me with, okay, this is like deeply thought, deeply considered, well-examined writing. That's saying some things. Maybe they're repeating things some people are saying, but on the whole, there's like, wow, this is. Yeah. I do have a Lake Drive author that I feel like is somebody I'm curious to hear what this person has to write more about. Yeah. And that gets me excited. That's exciting. And I'm glad I have that. That's hard to get.
No, it is.
But that's I think the thing is someone who's going to really slow me down and say, have you looked at it all this way? Right. And also because we're just so amped up all the time. Yeah. And where do you find something that gives you like a rudder?
Yeah, that's a good thought.
Yeah. I mean, there's people complaining about conservatives. There's people progressives
Yeah.
complaining about Democrats.
Yep.
You know, and
Right.
and it's like, okay, well, how do we? What's the where's the center here?
Yeah.
Even if there is no center, let's talk about that.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm thinking of, well, we talked about Annie Dillard, and in a previous generation, it felt as though maybe there was an easier way to get your arms around things. It feels a little bit like too much these days.
Mhm. Yeah.
But Gilead author
Marilyn
Robinson,
Robinson.
she comes to mind, someone who can kind of get their arms around things pretty well. But yeah, I mean, Frederick Buechner, I used to go to him a lot, Presbyterian minister and kind of literary writer. And then I don't anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what he's writing recently.
Yeah.
Wendell Berry, maybe. I guess he's still around.
Yeah.
Not sure what he's writing these days.
Definitely some of the writers of color,
Oh, yeah.
writers on the margins. There's definitely clues there.
Yes.
That's
Bell Hooks, I've been reading a
that's
lot
probably
from.
where
Yeah.
I get the most excited is when
Yeah,
you-
I need to dig into more of that. Howard Thurman. I mean, so again, but like earlier generation, right? We
Mhm.
need people today doing this, or just interpreting what existed before for today's audience.
Mhm.
Because I don't know that there's anything new necessarily. I think
Right.
it's really just reinterpreted and reapplied.
Right.
But anyway.
One of my agency authors, I'll mention him by name, Randy Woodley.
Mm.
He writes. He was a professor for many years at a well-known evangelical university, but was a anthropologist and historian and taught all kinds of courses on American history.
Okay.
But also has indigenous roots,
Nice. Yeah.
both personally as well as especially in his wife's family history, and that's what he's writing about more these days.
Wow.
And I think there's some real exciting stuff there.
Yeah.
That if I was just actually working on publishers to pitch a new proposal from him to this morning,
Very cool.
and what was interesting was that there's a lot of children's books with indigenous interest.
Oh yeah. You bet.
That was kind of interesting to me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't quite figure out, is it because, Native Americans are generally something children are interested in,
Yeah.
or is it adults making Native Americans into a caricature? Which
There's
is
probably
it?
some of that. Yeah, some of both there.
But I was encouraged to see what I saw and
Yeah.
feel like I've been missing out on some things, and I'm really glad to be working on this book. I
Right.
think I'm going to learn. It was a book I started reading the proposal in a sample chapter, and I'm like, well, I want to keep reading this, except I got to get to work and get this publisher list done.
That's great. Oh, you know what I started reading last night? The Little Prince. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Only a
Saint
little.
Antoine Exupéry.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, it's for kids, right? But I forgot how it started, and he's talking about being a kid and drawing, and then the parents or the adults saying like, "Oh, that's a drawing of a hat," and he's like, "No, it's a snake with an elephant inside." And he's saying you have to explain things for adults a lot, and it's so tiresome. So he's talking to kids as an adult, but he's doing it in this like kind of tongue-in-cheek way, and it's so delightful. It's like this is a kid's book,
Yeah.
but it's not.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to that maybe in the Native American way of thinking. I think of the Great Spirit. I think of the way that it's very nature-centric, and that's what children are. Right? We are basically out in the woods playing. And escaping is just a normal thing you do. And Mr. Rogers, I have like this amazing mentor in my mind from him, growing up watching him, that I'm working toward the point of like basically we need to get back to this sort of childish idea, or at least childlike, maybe, not childish.
Sense of
Childlikeness,
curiosity.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus talked about that a lot too, but I don't hear a lot of Christians talking about it.
Right.
Like, why don't we get back to this idea of being connected with nature, reading children's books for pleasure, understanding that there's not a lot of difference. In fact, there's probably very little difference
Right.
in terms of like the consciousness that's alive in the world there.
Right.
We should be more like children than children should be like us sometimes. And I love being reminded of that.
Yeah.
So as a man in the world, having to be a professional and having to be a dad and do all the responsible things, it's a real lovely pleasure to be able to read The Little Prince as I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I feel like I needed that,
Yeah.
So anyway.
Great note to end on there.
Yeah.
My friend. my sexy male reading friend.
We are the sexy men who read. That's right. Come listen to our podcast.
We are going to pump you up with your reading habits.
Oh my gosh. This is the longest episode yet, you guys. This has been meandering and fun, and I hope it's fun to listen to.
If you've listened this far, send us an email. I will send you a free book.
No, seriously. Like really, if you've made it this far, get your free book, because Lake Drive is willing to subsidize you.
I'll give you options. Definitely.
All right. Take care. We'll talk to you next time.